You're not ashamed to admit it. You're a simple type of fella living in a simple type of town in the hinterlands of the US. There's nothing in this world you enjoy more than to get together with the townsfolk, quaff a bucket full of ale, dance, and be merry. These parties go on from night until morning, and the skies come alive with the most amazing firework displays. But it's during one of those colorful shindigs that something happens to you that will change your life forevermore. You're gonna receive a ring, and with that ring, you're gonna hit the cities. You're gonna get into crazy battles, and you're gonna risk life and limb. That ring has power, and of course, you desire power, like all men do. Hell is about to break loose. On another particular night of merrymaking, a white, bearded friend of yours turns up to the party. His name is Alf, and he looks as old as time, but he's a decent guy, even if he goes missing from your life for long periods. You've got your uncle at least, and while he also does disappearing acts now and again, he's usually reliable. So anyway, the party is in full flow when your uncle just gets up and announces he's taking off. You might be old enough to fend for yourself these days, but since you never had much parental guidance in your life, you don't take this news well. "I'm going on an adventure," your uncle says. And the first thing you wonder is if he's just drunk or has shacked up with some woman somewhere. And that's it, not so much as a "take care of yourself, boy." He just takes off into thin air. It would have been a real bummer of a night if Alf hadn't come to you and given you a gift. A rather expensive-looking gold ring. Man, that thing feels so powerful just holding it in your hands, and you'll soon come to know why. The last thing Alf has to say to you kind of shocks you. He tells you, "There's nothing for you here. Get out of this place and go find yourself in the world." You think, well, if everyone else is skipping off on adventures, then why not me? You get the guys together and take off in that old station wagon your uncle never used, and you don't look back. It's time to hit the cities, to those places you've heard about where crime is rife and where people work 16 hours a day in smoky factories. You soon find out that you and a bunch of other hillbillies riding around in a beat-up old station wagon attracts attention. You never realize just how much you stand out with your country clothes and strong accent and a car that has no right to be on the road. At the first city you come to, you're at the stoplights and a bunch of men in hoodies. Their faces is totally obscured, but you swear you see devilish red eyes, order you to get out of the car. Is this a carjacking, you wonder? One of those things you heard about that happens in the cities? But you get out and you soon discover it's not the beat-up car they want, but that ring of yours. Aha, you think, this thing must be worth a fortune. Even though you're scared out of your mind, all you can think about is how much you could get for that thing at a pawn shop. You then ask yourself how these guys knew you had a ring. Weird, to say the least. These guys start beating the hell out of your buddies, and one of them goes for your ring. Your reaction is just to slip the thing onto your finger, and then the most amazing thing happens. You're taken to a place of pure ecstasy. It's like nothing you've ever experienced, like the greatest feeling you've ever had. No wonder those guys want the thing. When you come out of this ecstasy, those carjackers are all strewn in the road as if they've been shot down in a hail of bullets. But that's not what happened. It was you that did it, with that ring. A similar thing happens in a roadside bar the following night. You're shooting some pool with your buddies and minding your own business when this monster of a man just starts attacking you for no good reason at all. That ring is in your pocket again, but you just know this guy wants it. You slip it back on and boom, that troll of a guy is destroyed. Your friends think that this is a pretty neat trick that you have, but the thing is, every time you get this superpower, it takes something out of you. They're now looking at the ring when you take it out, ogling over it like a dog salivating over an 8-ounce piece of steak. Oh God, you think. They want it too. To make matters worse, you leave the bar that night and start walking to your car, and this skinny little wretch that hasn't aged well, has like 6 strands of comb-over hair, starts trying to get friendly with you. He sidles up to you and, like a tweaker in the midst of psychosis, he starts talking about this precious thing he wants. "I don't have any drugs," you bark at him. "Go harass someone else." It's not the last time you see this emaciated creep of a man. You later meet a guy that knows a guy who told him that this man is called Cullum, and he used to be a stand-up person, but then one day he just hit the streets and wasn't seen for years. Another casualty of the drug epidemic, you thought when the guy told you that. You're in bed that night at a cheap motel you found and you can't sleep for thinking about what you should do with that ring. You could pawn it, and you must say, the craftsmanship is second to none. But then someone else would get the power you now have. On the one hand, you want to retain that power, and on the other, things could turn nasty if someone without your unblemished ethics got a hold of it. It seems to you that a lot of bad folks know about it, which makes you paranoid enough to believe you're intertwined in some kind of government conspiracy. That probably means the FBI are after you, or even the CIA. You know what's right. You You take it outside, and with the hammer you get from the car, you just strike that thing in the hopes of destroying it. But that ends with you 20 feet across the road, and the ring still in pristine condition. It can't be destroyed, you quickly realize. And at that moment, you swear you see that tweaker guy with the comb-over skulking around the car park. You're sure you hear the words, "My precious." And in a moment of compassion, you think, that guy needs some help. He looks tortured. You're wrestling with your thoughts the next day over a plate of grits and biscuits when you see the most beautiful, perhaps the most beautiful trio of women walk past the restaurant window. It suddenly hits you. Whenever you put that ring on and cause a lot of destruction, you also disappear. The dark thought crosses your mind that you could just follow those pretty women around for a while. What a creep, you then quickly think, admonishing yourself. You're not a creep. But if all that ring is good for is winning fights with rather unsavory characters, then what use is it? You don't want to be continually fighting, and again, you kind of like how it makes you feel. And would it be really all that evil to use it to your advantage? I mean, you're definitely not the peeping Tom sort, but if you could sneak into a bank and just help yourself to part of the vault, all that money is federally insured, right? At the very least, you could help yourself to snacks from your favorite fast food joint. Those places make enough money as it is. The possibilities are filling your head as you're still sitting at your restaurant booth when you've reached for your big old glass of OJ, distracted by the only slightly evil possibilities in your head. You knock the OJ over and wind up with a giant stain on your crotch. Great. Now you look like you don't know how to use a bathroom. Well, good thing you got yourself an invisibility ring. As you pop that bad boy on and slink out of the restaurant in invisible shame. The next day, shortly after, you've made easy work of a triad mafia gang who also seem to want the ring, and you bump into that tweaker guy again, and this time he just outright attacks you. For a moment, he gets his hand on the ring and mutters, "It's mine, my own, my precious." "No, it's not," he replies. You swipe it from his malnourished hands. "What is it with you in this ring?" you shout. And then, suddenly, out of nowhere, your old friend Alf appears. He tells you that this guy Cullum had gotten addicted to the ring's power and even killed his buddy over it. To your surprise, Alf informs you that all bad people want it because it can dominate all life. For thousands of years, people have been dying over that ring, and you need to get rid of it. That's pretty heavy, you think. Alf tells you that this isn't going to be easy since you have to take it back to the place it was made. And that's a gold refinery a few miles outside of Detroit called the Doom Brothers. One of the brothers, called Simon, is still alive, and he's been looking to get the ring back. Like, he really wants it back. Alf tells you that the road to the refinery is fraught with disaster, but if you don't destroy the ring, it'll pretty much lead to the end of all man. He tells you that at Doom Brothers, the workers have little to no labor rights, and because they work around the clock, all of them are bitter. Hard work and pitiful living conditions have pretty much dehumanized those poor souls, and they won't take kindly to you destroying the ring. "All right," he replies sarcastically. "Thanks a lot for handing it to me. No pressure or anything, making me the savior of all mankind." One thing you find out is that when one of your buddies grabs the ring while you're driving toward Detroit, it doesn't give the car a cloak of invisibility, but it turns that old piece of junk into what looks like an expensive Mercedes driven by some government official. You aren't happy about letting someone else wear the ring, but it is good to get through some neighborhoods not looking like a washed-up Walton family lost on vacation. You spend the last evening before you reach the Doom Brothers watching TV news in a motel. More war, you think, as you watch drone strikes and raging tanks and clashing soldiers. You'll be glad to get rid of the ring, as you're sure all that fighting in the end is about power and precious things. That reminds you, you haven't seen Cullum in a while. Maybe he's off the scent, you think. But you'll soon discover that he hasn't given up. You decide that it's best not to just walk up to Doom Brothers and ask Simon if you can destroy his work of art. So you sneak around the back to where the smelting area is. You watch as the flames tickle the air and the smoke reaches the sky in thick plumes. That's where the ring will go, back into the belly of the beast. It's eerily quiet in some respects, and you expected to be a lot more of those overworked, disgruntled employees. You get to the edge of the smelting pit and it looks like a volcano, both mesmerizing and frightening at the same time. Suddenly, Cullum is behind you, and he's going to have a last shot at reclaiming the ring. If you're not careful, you're going to fall into that lava, and so you slip on the ring. Oh, it still feels good to have it on. But Cullum can somehow see you, even though you thought you'd be invisible to him. That crazed man bites off your finger, and both of you fall over the ledge into the pit. Unfortunately for Cullum, he ends up in the lava, and you get helped out by your buddy. That was a close one, that's for sure. You dust yourself off, and the first thing you realize is you want to be back with your townsfolk, sipping on ale and eating homemade food under the shadow of the moon. The middle of nowhere ain't such a bad place to be when you've got your friends. You remember something your Uncle Alf once said to you: "He that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom." He was right about that. Your finest hour was being reacquainted with the ones you loved and thought you'd lost. If you enjoyed this hypothetical tale and want to know more about how to save the world, have a look at this video: How to Defend Earth Against an Alien Invasion.